Obama questioning the timing of the president's new immigration policy, stopping the deportation of hundreds of thousands of younger illegal immigrants.
If he really wanted to make a solution that dealt with these kids or with illegal immigration in America, then this is something he would have taken up in his first 3.5 years, not in his last few months.
So he did it for politics.
Well, that's certainly a big part of the equation.
Now, at this hour, Mitt Romney is in the middle of his swing state bus tour today. He's traveling across Ohio. Also new today, White House senior advisor David Plouffe appearing on Meet the Press, taking a jab at Republicans over the economy while defending the president's new immigration policy.
Will this decision stand?
Yeah, we are absolutely confident. Our attorneys, the Homeland Security attorneys, this is well within our boundaries to do. But again, Congress hasn't acted. You know, whether it's the economy, you saw Republican members of Congress openly this week in some articles saying they're not going to do anything on the economy before the election because they want to help Romney. It's a remarkable thing.
And the president is preparing to head to Mexico for the G20 meeting this week. The summit talks begin tomorrow, and President Obama will meet with Vladimir Putin, who recently returned to the presidency in Russia, and will be their first meeting in 3 years. Joining me now for more front page politics, editor-in-chief of the National Journal's Hotline, Reed Wilson, and politics staff writer for Roll Call, Shira Toeplitz. Hello to the both of you. Thanks for being here.
Hey, good morning.
Shira, we heard the timing question of President Obama's new immigration policy, saying that if the president really wanted a solution, he would have taken this up in his first 3.5 years in office. What do you make of Mitt Romney's comments, and how much do you think timing did play into the president's decision to announce this new policy?
I think the timing is rather smart politically on the president's side because this is an election year, and I would like Mr. Romney probably knows that Congress did try to pass immigration reform in the form of the DREAM Act, and that failed not once but I think twice in the last couple Congresses. So there was immigration reform before Congress. It didn't really go anywhere.
Okay. Reed, Romney's openly criticizing the president's plan and the timing here, but what kind of a line does Mitt Romney have to walk on this issue to not alienate Latino voters?
Note the fact that in that interview he very clearly criticized the president's plan, but he didn't say whether or not he would reverse it. He was asked 4 times, and he didn't actually say that he would have overturned it. That's sort of a reflection of where of the importance of Hispanics and their growing the growing factor they play in American politics these days. Hispanics are very clearly moving towards the Democratic camp. George W. Bush in his re-election in 2004 won 44% of Hispanic voters. John McCain only won 31%. Even in 2010, in the very, the pro-Republican wave, Hispanic voters voted overwhelmingly for Democrats. So what Republicans have to do is they've got to find some way to appeal to these voters without angering their base that, of course, wants a much stricter enforcement-first approach. Mitt Romney clearly has not figured out how to toe that line. It's interesting that the one issue on which conservatives have never really criticized Romney is over immigration. He's always been one of the harder line members of the Republican field. Unlike folks like Rick Perry, Newt Gingrich, that was a place where Romney could go to the right in the primary. Now, of course, in the general election, he's moving much more towards the center.
And Shira, White House senior advisor David Plouffe said on Meet the Press that he's confident the president's new immigration policy will stand. So do you think it's possible to overestimate how this might energize the Latino community and have them get out and vote for the president?
I think this will energize the Latino community. If you talk to Latino voters, particularly in swing states like Nevada, Colorado, Florida, they really talk about one of the major disappointments in this president as the DREAM Act, the immigration reform proposal legislation I discussed earlier, is not going through Congress. This was a major disappointment for them, and they're angry with the president over it. So I think this kind of initiative, this executive order, will do a lot to energize voters, again, in these key states that will really matter. Compared to previous presidential cycles, we're going to see a fight for these western states, these Sun Belt states, a lot more than we've seen in previous cycles where the electoral map is really played out in the Rust Belt. So this is important to the president.
Yeah, okay. Reed, let's talk a little money here because the New York Times says that casino mogul Sheldon Adelson is committed to giving $10 million to conservative groups. Add this to the $30 million he's already given to super PACs that back Newt Gingrich. And Adelson is suggesting he may spend up to $100 million to defeat President Obama. Now, obviously, this amount of money can help a lot lot. But is there a point of diminishing returns on this?
Well, I don't entirely think so. I mean, you know, Americans spent about $5 billion on federal elections in 2008. It's going to be more this time around, so hey, why not? You know, remember Adelson that year spent tens of millions of dollars on a group called Freedom's Watch. Now he's back, sort of spreading that money around to some different entities. Interestingly enough, those groups share some of the same staffers as Freedom's Watch did back in 2008. It depends on where this money goes. You know, whether it goes all to television, whether it goes entirely to, you know, the mail pieces or phone vendors or even sort of the get out the vote operation that you know, the Democrats have invested heavily in, that Republicans are behind in. So if they spread this money out intelligently, which these guys know how to do, I would expect the money to play a significant role in this year's elections.
Okay, Reed Wilson and Shira Toeplitz, as always, guys. Good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you. West Coast headlines are next with the gold mine that could be in store for the San Francisco 49ers and water.